Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Well, I think we all have some specific gear items that are high on your gear wish list, but you know that you will never have it because you're simply not able to afford it. I have one of those products as well. I would love to try it out, but here in Europe it costs a whopping 930 euros. That is totally crazy. And then I'm talking about the Zenbivy bed. I absolutely like the idea of that system. I love that. And if I take the same temperature rating as my Enlightened equipment quilt is, so the minus 12 degrees Celsius, I believe that's a 10 degrees Fahrenheit, yeah, then 930 euros. So I think that is absolutely a ridiculous price for a sleep system because it's practically nothing more than a quilt and a little sheet. So yeah, I think Zenbivy might go a little bit crazy on that one. So I thought, well, I'm a bit in a crafty mood today, do some DIY backpacking gear. Why not go and work out a Zenbivy style sleep system myself? So a while back ago, when I got up with the idea, I went on Facebook Marketplace and I bought a Zenbivy sheet. This is the fast sheet from Zenbivy. It's attached here to my pad already. And this is the half sheet, as you can see, and it has those nice little hooks on there. Come here, Javi. So that you can easily attach normally the Zenbivy quilt to it. And of course the Enlightened equipment quilt that I have got here does not have any attachment points. So today we are going to have a look in how to add them to your quilt yourself, so you can create a Zenbivy style sleep system for way less. I mean, this quilt I already have for several years, so I'm not counting that into the price. This sheet costs me 15 euros on Facebook. I got myself some 1 centimeter webbing and some Dyneema 2mm cord. So this together was 3 euros or something. So less than 20 euros, we might be able to recreate the same sleep system. So let's take a look at it. So what I have done, I have laid out my Enlightened equipment quilt on my sleeping pad, and then you have to figure out on what height you would like to have your quilt. So this is where the head part of the sheet is starting. So I want my quilt to be up there. So if I want to make any attachments later to attach my quilt to the hood as well, then I have space for that. So I'm going to take it to this height, and then I'm going to take the flaps that you have here on the Zenbivy sheet, to which the hooks are added to, and then I'm going to put that on my quilt, and then I'm going to see which height they need to be on my quilt to avoid that draft is coming under. So I have a regular white quilt, so I have the space to roam around with that. So I'm going to tuck in my quilt here, as you can see, so that is nicely underneath me. There won't be any drafts in there. And then I can see that I would like to have the clips to, let's say, the third line of stitching here on my quilt. So then it would be added like this. Maybe I can do the second one, but I will go lay in there in just a few seconds to see if I did the measurements right. And then I will add the webbing that I bought and make a little loop out of that one, show you a close-up picture after this, and add the loops to it, or the hooks to it, so that the loops can easily click into the cordage. So it now obviously is all components, but they are going to be working out together. So I'm going to check also here that where my quilt is closing, that part is on the Zenbivy sheet, so that there won't be any drafts coming in underneath my legs or my bottom part, so to say, because then you have everything enclosed. Means that this might end up a little bit higher, but it's better to just leave the first clip open and throw your quilt a little bit back. Then you're having drafts here from the bottom. So that will be a good option. So I'm going to lay in my quilt, see if I made the right measurements with the third line of stitching, whether I'm going to change it to the second line of stitching. So I'm laying inside the quilt now, and then I can see that I maybe even go to the first line of stitching, because Ravi very often wants to sleep under my quilt as well. So if I give it a little more space up here, then I can leave the first hook untied so that I can open it for Ravi to come in when he is getting cold at night. So if I put this one here on the first, line. And then I hold it here. And then I'm going to do the same on this side. Yeah, then I noticed that the first one should be fine. So next step, I have a Sharpie here, a bright colored Sharpie. So I'm going to get out of my quilt again and make some little markings on the lines on the same height where the clips are, so that I know that when I'm sewing on the little hooks or the loops, that they will be in the right position, because otherwise my hook might be here and my loop might be there. That is not going to work. So I'm going to make little dots on my quilt for that one, and then we are going to switch over to the sewing machine. So my quilt is now laying on the right position on my sleeping pad, as you can see. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this little hook, and I measured out that I want to have it on the first line of stitching. So I'm folding my quilt in, taking the loop, and I'm going to mark here with my Sharpie. You probably can't see it on camera, but I can see the lining. That I know that I have to stitch the little webbing with the little loop on here. So after that I will be able to clip it in. And I'm going to do that with all 4 of the clips on each side. And then we are going to sew on the little webbing onto my quilt. Well, I've made all the 8 markings. I'm now going to cut the webbing to size and the cord to size, and then I'm going to sew it on my quilt. If you are not confident enough to start sewing on your expensive quilt, then you might figure out some other solutions to add this to it. I think that if you sew these 2 together, that it will be fine as well to attach it to your quilt together with something like tenacious tape or something like that. So that might be an option as well, but I will take the gamble and sew it on to my quilt. So yeah, let's make these and then we'll get back with the end result. So I have now sewn 8 loops, so 4 for each side of the quilt. Now it's time to sew them onto the quilt on the marked spots that I just made earlier on it. So as you can see, all 4 loops are attached to my quilt, all in the right spot when I compare it to the sheet here. So now let's clip it together. And as you can see, the quilt is tucked in nicely now, so there won't be any drafts coming underneath from it. That's exactly what I was looking for. So it tucks in really nicely, doesn't have any drafts over here. And this is what I mentioned, then I can leave the first 1 or 2 clips open, that if Ravi wants to come in, I can easily let him in, and eventually, if I want to, close the last ones up as well. So then you have easily loads of room to still roam around. I'm a side sleeper, I'm a rotisserie chicken during the night. Ravi, people are watching. I'm a rotisserie chicken during the night, so I still have plenty of space to do that in my under my quilt. Come here. And stay nice. Ravi, come here. Stay nice and toasty during the night, no draft. So I think this system is turned out pretty well. Like I said, I really cannot afford a original Zenbivy, and even if I was saving up for that one, still had my doubt if I was going to spend 930 euros on a sleep system, if this works just as well. So if you like this video, give us a like, subscribe to the channel and notify the alarm bell, and then as always, enjoy the outdoors. We'll get you on the next trail. Goodbye. Hey, you. Come here. Goodbye, guys.